Hey guys, it's me again. Today's video is going to be another story time. I'm going to be explaining the process of how I got diagnosed with POTS and eczema. Boy, you got eczema. So this has been a very long, tumultuous road, but I finally have answers, and you guys are about to learn how I got those answers. I again have my handy dandy iPad here with a whole note of everything in chronological order. My two cats are here right now and they are absolutely pestering me. They cannot stop following me around and trying to climb on me, and you can see one's tail right here. And they're trying to jump up on the table and they're trying to play with the blinds, and they've already torn apart their cat tree and they're trying to get in the sink. So I'm really going to try to maintain my composure as I tell this story, but it's going to be tough. This timeline takes place over the course of 4 years. Yeah. My downfall began the day I found out my ex cheated on me. So the first few days after I got my hey girly DM with the screenshots of my man cheating on me, these cats are having a brawl. They think this is a Beyblade stadium. They're just tumbling and flipping and flopping all over each other. It's not even time for your dinner. No one gave you any carbohydrates, so where are you channeling this energy from? I don't get it. A few days after I get that DM, I'm kind of in shock. I'm not feeling too great. I wake up with the shakes and nausea. I was kind of off for like a week after that because I kept waiting until it was going to happen again, and it did. So once I started getting like the shivers and the lightheadedness, I went to the ER. And while I was in the ER, they tell me this lightheadedness I've been feeling is caused by a tension migraine, and they pump me full of sedatives and then they send me home. So I go see my primary care provider, and she prescribes me with amitriptyline to help with the stress migraines, which I didn't know was an antidepressant until after a year on it, and hydroxyzine for the panic. As y'all know, if you're a woman, the healthcare system only wants to tell you you're pregnant or it's anxiety. Right after I break up with that despicable creature that I was dating, I developed this red patch on my thigh, and it's about this big. It kind of looks like a bunch of little red dots all together, but it's not raised, it's not flaky, it's not itchy or anything like that. And that's the only patch for like 3 months. Then they start showing up all over my stomach and my legs and my arms. So I go to the doctor and they tell me it's this condition called pityriasis, and that the first patch is the Herald patch. They say it'll go away on its own within a few months. 5 to 6 months later, when I'm still bedridden and depressed over the breakup, the rashes only spread more. They're not getting any better at all. So I go to the dermatologist and they order a blood test. The results come back with a high ANA titer, and the high ANA thing basically means you have an elevated white blood cell count, indicating you're fighting an infection. So I'm referred to rheumatology. Rheumatology is who deals with like autoimmune diseases and things like that. The doctors are still convinced that these rashes are pityriasis, and they say that it's usually not contagious. Okay, that's not scary at all. I also started losing copious amounts of hair, like literal clumps falling out of my head every time I brushed my hair or took a shower. So the rheumatologist was just like, guess you have provisional alopecia. They prescribed me with a steroid cream, and the rashes clear up completely. So then I stopped using the cream, and I think this was just like a weird reaction to something, and it's all over, and I go back to using like my Bath & Body Works lotions and body washes and things like that. Shifting back to the other illness. After a year on amitriptyline and hydroxyzine, I'm still having migraines with aura, which are like the colorful squiggly things in your vision that are like in the way. So I see a neurologist and an eye doctor. The neurologist prescribes me with Lexapro, and Pearl Vision gets me some new specs. They put me on another antidepressant, just trying to mask my symptoms and diagnose me with anxiety. The Lexapro does not treat the migraines, but it does make me feel like a robot for 4 years. I go back to the neurologist after about a month and I say, I'm still having migraines with aura, like they literally would block out all the vision in my left eye. And she says, well, the only other solution for you would be to try a monthly injection in your thigh that's still in FDA trials. So I'm like, you know what? I'm actually so good on that. Like, I'm actually gonna pass. Like, I'm just gonna head out, okay? So I've had motion sickness from video games, car, boat, plane rides since I was a child. But at some point, I start getting motion sickness when I lay down and close my eyes to go to sleep at night. So they diagnosed me with benign positional vertigo. 3 years after the first time that I fainted and went to the ER, I get a new primary care provider because I aged out of the pediatrician that I had been going to. As she's checking my heart rate, she looks at me funny. And she goes, can you lay down for me? So I lay down on the bed, 100 beats per minute. laying down. Kind of sus. Then she says, now sit up. So I sit up. Heart rate's 150. Just from laying to sitting. And she calls this the poor man's table tilt test. And I'm like, what is a table tilt? What is going on? I'm confused. So she says I might have POTS, which stands for postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. And she notices these warning signs because she has the condition, and she recommends I go for more testing. And she tells me that this condition is still a pretty new thing to be accepted in the medical world, and some people don't think it's real, some people haven't heard of it, but I got lucky enough to have a PCP that had this condition and was able to identify the warning signs, because if I had anyone else, they probably would have just thought, oh, she's out of shape. So this condition, POTS, it basically causes your heart rate to, like I said, skyrocket when you change position. So if you go from sitting to standing, laying to sitting, laying to standing, your heart rate just beats like 50 to 100 beats per minute faster to overcompensate, and this causes like the blood to pool in your legs and then you faint. It also causes like some circulation issues. So POTS is an autonomic disorder, and basically an autonomic disorder is a condition where the nervous system fails to properly regulate involuntary bodily functions like heart rate, blood pressure, digestion, and temperature. Common symptoms include fainting, dizziness, tachycardia, fatigue, digestive issues, often impacting daily life. Like I said, autonomic disorders cause a lot of fatigue. So a lot of that time that I was bedridden for 6 months, I was sleeping. I was sleeping probably 12 hours a day, and I never felt like I could get enough sleep. And that fatigue is caused by your heart working so hard throughout the day and just doing too damn much, basically. I wear a heart monitor over Halloween weekend, and basically it's like taped to my heart with a bunch of little wires all over my stomach, and there's a little button you can press. So anytime you feel like your heart is racing, you press the button and it records it in the heart monitor. So it's a 2-day heart monitor, and then when I get my results back, I find out that my highest heart rate was 189 just from walking up the stairs. Yes. Then I get scheduled for a table tilt test. Remember how I said earlier my PCP did the poor man's table tilt test? So basically this test is where they strap your body to a flat surface, and then they slowly like raise you up until you're completely vertical, and then they have you sit there for 40 minutes and they monitor your heart rate, blood pressure, things like that, mostly to see if you will pass out. And I was sitting there like, there's no way this is gonna make me pass out. Like, my heart isn't working hard because I'm strapped to this table, like I'm not doing any work. So if you can make it to 40 minutes without fainting on this test, you passed, failed, I don't really know. Passed at not having POTS, I don't know. I make it to 36 minutes. I'm locked in. I'm in the flow state. I'm like, guys, I told you I don't have this. Like, I'm solid. Then the room starts to get a little fuzzy, and I'm like, guys, I open my eyes and I'm completely flat on the table. I'm actually like less than flat. So like this, if this is my head and this was my feet, I was like this. So they had put me back completely down, and then they raised my feet up so that the blood would go back to my head. The nurses are putting a cold cloth on my head. They're talking to me. They're shaking me. They're shoving a juice box and graham crackers in my hands. And they're like, well, at least you passed out smiling. I take myself to the cardiologist with my test results. Supposedly, he's one of the best POTS researchers out there, or at least in our area, because his daughter has it and he wants to research it in honor of his daughter, which I thought was sweet. He confirms the POTS diagnosis and prescribes me with a beta blocker called propranolol, which is one of those medications where it slows your heart rate down. And he tells me I need to take this twice a day, double my salt and water and electrolyte intake, wear compression socks, do cardio to strengthen my heart, and he prescribes me with fludrocortisone, which helps your body retain salt, but it made me feel weird, so I couldn't even take that, which was just awesome. Then the rashes come back. Yeah, we're back on this again. I know the way I'm telling the story is so confusing, but I'm like developing both of these illnesses at the same time, so I'm explaining my trips to the doctor in the order that they happened, not telling the two stories separately, because they are like this. They are like this. They're like this. Like, they go hand in hand. So I still have some steroid cream left, and I use that, but I go to the dermatologist again. They say, pityriasis doesn't usually last this long or come back for a second round. Maybe it's actually eczema. Eczema is a chronic, non-contagious condition causing dry, itchy, inflamed skin patches, often triggered by environmental irritants, allergens, or stress. They ban me from using scented lotions and body washes and tell me I can only use CeraVe and Cetaphil products on my body. Mind you, I was an avid collector of Bath & Body Works and Victoria's Secret body care products. This was the most heartbreaking news of all of this, is being told I can't use scented lotion anymore. 4 years after the initial migraine, fainting, ER episode, and a year after my POTS diagnosis, I'm still having migraines with aura, but now they are exclusively causing numbness in my left side of my face and left arm. I start tweaking and I convince myself that I have a brain tumor or I'm at risk of a stroke. So I get an MRI referral. Now, I was extremely scared of MRIs because I was worried they were gonna have to put an IV in my arm and give me contrast dye. And I'm also worried that I'm gonna have some piece of metal in my body somewhere that I'm not aware of, like a secret piercing that happened in my sleep, and that I'm gonna fly up to the top of the MRI machine and get crushed. But it actually wasn't bad. They didn't have to give me contrast dye, and they let me pick the playlist to listen to while I was in the machine. It was like a big tube, and there was like a faint glow. And I was in this tube with this anti-radiation vest kind of thing, and I had to sit dead still so the thing could like scan my head. And then the two people working the machine were like in a separate room behind like some bulletproof glass or some shit. I'm like, okay, so if it's not safe for you to even be looking at me in this machine, how is it safe for me to be in here? But I was like, let me not, because then I'll convince myself that I'm gonna get cancer. The results come back clean. No tumor, no strokes, yay. Healthy gray matter in my brain. So then last year, I have a really bad vertigo episode, and like I said, I was diagnosed with that benign positional vertigo where when I would try to sleep and I would lay on one side and close my eyes, I would get the vertigo, but when I opened my eyes, it would be fine because I was able to orient myself. But this was the first time I ever had a vertigo episode while having my eyes open, which is so much worse. I was sitting there at my boyfriend's house, staring at the ceiling for 2 hours, and I didn't do anything to trigger it. Like, it was just a normal ass day. I didn't go on a roller coaster or anything. I was trying so hard not to be a burden and wake him up, but it got so bad. I collapsed off the bed and threw up in a plastic bag on the floor. So then he had to call my parents to come pick me up and bring me to the ER at 2 in the morning. I get to the ER. They have me sitting in the waiting room for like 2 hours because patients are coming in with higher priority health issues. Like, this one little girl comes in and she says that she's had a nosebleed for 4 hours. So they get her right in. I'm like, you know what? You got it worse than me. I would rather continue throwing up my partially digested steak and shake fries into this bag in the waiting room than have a nosebleed for 4 hours. So they pump me full of sedatives again. They give me meclizine, Zofran, antihistamine, and send me home. Like, this is all that they do in the emergency room. I swear to God, every single time I've been there, they just give me a bunch of sedatives to make me fall asleep and stop complaining, and then they send me home. But at least they prescribe me with meclizine, which is like a very strong anti-vertigo medication. Since then, I have not had another ER trip or blood test or anything like that. Knock on wood, because I absolutely hate IVs and blood draws and vaccines. I'm vaccinated, don't get me wrong. I just don't like needles. I have everything mostly under control now. I have to take propranolol twice a day and 10 extra vitamins. I have to carry a ginormous water bottle with me at all times. I have to have ibuprofen, Dramamine, Tums, and Benadryl in my purse because you never know when a POTS episode is going to strike while you're out and about. And I have to wear an Apple Watch every day to keep track of my heart rate in case I have atrial fibrillation. If you have POTS, you're not at risk for a heart attack. It seems like you are, but you're not. My record heart rate last year was 189 beats per minute. I think that's my highest. And they say that your maximum heart rate is 220 minus your age. 220 minus 23 would be 197. So my maximum heart rate is 197, and I've hit 189 multiple times. I don't know what happens when you hit your maximum heart rate. I don't want to know. Do you just keel over? Do you just disintegrate like Thanos snapped his fingers? Some days I can't get out of bed. Some days I can't eat. Some days are better than others, and you can never tell when you're going to have a bad day or a good day. You just wake up and find out. But others have it worse. There are some POTS patients that have to go get saline bags through an IV once a week to keep their water and salt up. Luckily, I don't have to do that. I think I would rather die. You know, a lot of people say they would rather die than do something, but when it comes down to it, they wouldn't. I can say with 100% confidence that if I had to get an IV once a week, I probably would just blow my shit smooth off. Like, I've only fainted 4 or 5 times total because I'm really in tune with my body and I can sense when an episode is coming up. I've warned my job, every loved one in my life, if I ever faint in public, do not call an ambulance. Shake me until I wake up and give me some Gatorade, because I am not paying that ambulance bill and I'm not paying that ER bill just for them to knock me out and then send me home. No, you're not gonna charge me $3,000 for something that I can do in the comfort of my own home. I can give myself Benadryl. I can see the Hat Man on my own. In my 2-year checkup after I got diagnosed with POTS, my cardiologist actually told me I was managing it so well that he started to doubt if I even had it at all. I definitely need to eat better though, and I actually need to start wearing compression socks like I'm supposed to, but they're really ugly and they don't match anything, so I don't ever want to. So yeah, there is my story with how I got diagnosed with eczema and POTS. Hopefully this video educated you guys on the conditions a little bit. The former is definitely more well known than the latter, but this might also help some people become aware of the symptoms similar to mine and maybe seek a diagnosis for themselves, because POTS is very common among young women and it's very often written off as anxiety. So if doctors are telling you you just have anxiety and you just need to take an antidepressant and your gut's telling you that's not it, you need to advocate for yourself. No one can improve your life but you. So you need to get out there and you need to find a doctor who will listen to you. You're paying for them anyway. We don't have free healthcare. Both of these conditions lie dormant in your system until like a really stressful event in your life triggers them. So that event just happened to be the day I found out my ex cheated on me. If your body is rejecting someone, listen to it. I was literally having a physical allergic reaction to this man and ignored it because I was scared of living life without him. But life on your own will always be better than life with someone who doesn't deserve you. Hopefully this video wasn't too depressing. I don't want you guys to think that I want pity or I'm like sad or anything. This is more of an educational video, to be honest. I don't know if it was formatted well enough or explained thoroughly enough to even be considered educational, but hopefully you took something away from it. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe for more story times, gaming, vlogs. Have a great rest of your night, morning, evening, afternoon, whenever you're watching this. And I hope I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!